Happy New Year, everyone. I hope your year is off to a great start. Today, by popular request, I have a very special figure for review, IB-03 Baihu. This is my first figure from the new Infinitybox line, which is the successor to 52 Toys' long-standing Megabox line. In case you weren't aware, I bought a bunch of new figures recently and put out a couple of opinion polls asking everyone what you wanted to see me review. Baihu was by far the most popular request, so this is the one I'll be kicking off the new year with. I also want to mention the contributions to those polls and everyone who shared their thoughts, so thank you. I very much appreciated your feedback. As far as the figures listed in that poll, I'm definitely going to get around to all of them eventually. I have to preface that though. I started a new job recently, and between that and a lot of other things going on, as well as the time these videos take to produce, it'll probably be a few months before I get around to everything. But there's definitely a lot of cool stuff to talk about coming up, and I'm looking forward to talking with you more throughout the year. But that's all in the future, and we have a really cool figure to talk about today. I'm going to take a quick look at its package contents, we'll take a good look at figure details and its articulation, a transformation demo, then I'll be giving my very first Infinitybox figure a box grade. Another thing we need to talk about is this brand new style box charger. It's been the subject of a lot of discussion since it was first revealed, and I definitely have some thoughts on this. And I'll also address is something Beastbox collectors have been talking about for quite a while, whether or not there'd be an improved version of the original Big Cat mold. The only one I own is Golden Saber here, and I gave this guy a review a little over a year ago, which turned out to be one of my worst reviewed figures. Feel free to check that review out if you want a refresher. So is Baihu a worthy replacement of the original Big Cat mold? Let's find out. Starting off, Baihu comes in a very nicely designed package. It's got this kind of nice deep purple, spot gloss coat on the figure artwork, and here you got more really cool artwork of Baihu in the new Infinitybox logo. Y52 Toys opted to completely rebrand their long-established Megabox line to Infinitybox is a bit of a mystery. It's possible that they ran into a trademark issue, though some theories claim that they did it as an excuse to jack up their prices. I don't follow the logic of that one, so who knows? One interesting thing is the designer is listed right on the front of the box. More details on the back, beast mode to box mode, and they're showing off this new box charger. Extended play, if you really dream to turning your box into an action figure. Again, mechanical design by a good friend of 52 Toys, who I believe is the sole designer of all their Chinese mythology figures. He's a Japanese fellow by the name of Tsubashima Yuki, who's known for really ornate artisan metalworking and a phenomenal designer. Mine didn't come with a box charger insert, and neither did the last figure I bought. I don't know if that's something 52 Toys has started to intentionally omit. To be perfectly honest, I've gotten kinda lazy about using those. Maybe a lot of other collectors are in the same boat and 52 Toys is aware of it and they just decided that people aren't using them, so why include them? If you get a Baihu, let me know whether or not yours came with a box charger. And speaking of inserts, we'll take a look at the new backer that comes with Infinity Boxes. Honestly, I don't care for it. I think it's a generic design, especially when you compare it to the original Megabox backer. Moving on, let's talk about some figure details. On first impressions, I will say this figure, at least in comparison to its predecessor Chiron, does feel like a little bit of a step up in many regards. It feels a lot sturdier, and that's a tribute to their manufacturing partner because it's pretty well built. It's got a much more intuitive transformation, feels more solid in its cube mode, and it's fairly easy to pose within the framework of its physical proportions. It has a beautiful sculpt. I mean, this figure is just phenomenal looking. That head sculpt is unbelievable. I believe this is specific to the mythological character, which is usually represented with little wings or feathers or something like that. Baihu is the white tiger of the West, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure what the full details on that mythology is. He has these nice little shoulder flame pieces that are maybe a little bit of a carryover from Chiron. Nice transparent purple components that contrast very nicely with its stark white base color. Some bronze bits, metallic gold and purple graphic applications. It's overall very tastefully done, and frankly, it's beautiful. Baihu has this cool looking jetpack, these little exhaust ports, and a very nicely sculpted tail. Again, to me, this is way better than the guy with his janky floppy tail. And it really has quite a bit of posability, and it's super easy to manipulate. You can extend the leg out quite a bit, the head can turn left and right, it has a movable jaw with some nice sculpting. It's definitely fitting in a gray space between an organic creature and a mechanical beast. The tail has a range of motion, and you can actually use it as a way to balance this figure so you can more or less get this thing to stand on its hind legs. Overall, it's really well balanced. You can even have this thing standing on 3 legs very easily. So again, phenomenal job on the build quality of Baihu. As far as some drawbacks with its articulation, the range of motion with the paws is kind of a curiosity. Rather than a ball joint that's been used by many other figures, they went with a combination of a mushroom peg and a swivel joint. This limits the figure from having a bit more dynamic range of motion and posture that's more natural to a feline. As an example with Boney, in an upright sitting pose its legs are straight down with the paws at roughly a 90-degree angle to the femur. So Baihu will always be limited to being somewhat hunched over. I'm not sure why they went with that joint design other than possibly to make it a little sturdier. The head's range of motion is pretty good, but because of the way this character is built, it can't really tilt up, though it can tilt down. As far as the tail, it can swivel sideways, but what's common posture of any feline. Very often they curl their tail around their hind legs, and you can't do that with this figure. It's not a deal breaker, but if you were going to have this guy in an upright sitting position, the best you could do is to swivel the tail sideways slightly. This could have been easily remedied with a swivel joint in the middle of the tail, so there's a bit of a missed opportunity. At this point, the OG Big Cat should be pretty nervous about what this guy can do. That being the case, let's do a point of comparison. As you might recall, he has absolutely no head movement. I will say that he can actually get his paw beneath his leg in an upright position, which the new cat cannot do, although he has this floppy piece of crap tail. Torso can't bend, whereas Baihu can. Overall, Baihu's range of motion is an order of magnitude better than the original. Alright, let's talk about this new box charger. It's a curiosity. I'm sure a lot of people are really wondering what to do with this. And having played around with it for a while, to be honest, I still am. Beastboxes have been around for about 6 years, and this is a significant change to a well-established format. Those of you watching who have been collecting for a while already have a number of box chargers, so this is what you're used to. As far as how this fits in your current setup, let's take a quick look around the box. You got some holes on the front, and it opens and closes like a regular box charger. Got some holes around the side, some random stuff, and you get this little 45-degree angle notch. More holes on the back and holes on the bottom. Let's see how it fits within the regular box charger side by side. They connect together, no problem. Top and bottom, no problem. No problem. And on the sides. All in all, it seems to fit within the current lineup of box chargers pretty seamlessly. So the question is, how would you use this thing? At least the way they've been promoting it for now is by attaching modular parts to it. So I guess the thinking is you can accessorize your box, which is something I have zero interest in. To me, it's just storage for a Beastbox, full stop. And honestly, I have to question how many other people ever looked at this thing and thought, what else can I do with this? You can attach a display stand in different ways that you may not have thought of, which is okay, I guess. As far as how I would want to use it, here's been a problem with Beastbox collectors. As your collection grows, you have to build a wall, and you're really only able to store these things horizontally and vertically. And obviously, if you start stacking them in front of each other, you basically have a wall in front of another wall. A missed opportunity that I'm seeing here is, even though the front and the back have ports, you can't connect them together, which would add more stability to a wall. It'd be cool if 5-2 Toys made some sort of a male-to-male adapter for this application, but I seriously doubt we'll ever see that happen. As far as its design, they had to shorten the crosshatches to accommodate those peg holes. So right off the bat, 5-2 Toys kneecap their options for doing custom box charger designs. As far as the top, the standard box charger of course has a flat surface, and it's super easy to stand a figure on there. These nubs are going to present a problem for a lot of figures. It's completely incompatible with landscape bonus items, with of course the exception of smaller single plug pieces. One thing that would have been outstanding is if they had used this as an opportunity to finally make 5cm box chargers backwards compatible with the 4cm filler insert. That would have been a genius move. But nope, they didn't do that. The 4cm fillers at least can sit on the flat surface of the original box charger, and you can't even do that on top of the new box charger design because of these incompatible ports. All in all, I'm shocked at how poorly planned the implementation of this new box charger turned out to be. They had a huge opportunity to finally tie 4cm and 5cm figures together, which would have solved a huge problem for collectors, and as far as I'm concerned, 5-2 Toys completely blew it. As far as how it feels in the hand, it's knobby and really obtrusive. It doesn't feel good to hold, it lacks the clean display aesthetic of the original, and I'll just say it straight up, this thing sucks. It's worse, not better than the original box charger, and we would have been better off if they'd never released this to begin with. I'll put it another way, there's nothing here that makes me want to pay more for a Beastbox, let alone the current prices. To that point, if this thing came with a figure with a price increase, hard pass, I'm not going to buy it. Anyway, let's move on to a transformation demo. This one is actually quite a bit more straightforward than Chiron's transformation. There are some little fiddly bits within this figure, but it isn't nearly as tedious as Chiron, and there definitely aren't any parts that you need a toothpick to force out of a tiny little hole or anything like that. First thing we want to do is take the head, pull it down, then you'll take this little piece and tuck it inside. Then you'll collapse the head, and you want to have this part of the back of the head touching that part. Then we'll take the forelimb panels on the sides and fold them straight out like that. These feather pieces fold down, and the paws fold inward. These shoulder pieces fold all the way forward, we'll scrunch the arm up and tuck the paw in underneath. It's such a solid piece that you can just about do this one-handed. We'll bring these panels straight forward. You'll want to bring this shoulder piece out perpendicular to the body. They're pretty tight, so you might have to do a little bit of wiggling to get that out. So essentially for now, we're going to have about this shape right here. Right here, there's a connecting piece that's connected to the top part of the jetpack. We'll pull these apart, so push the peg inside this cavity, and ultimately the jet piece will fold on top of the tiger's head, but I'll leave that alone for now. So this entire assembly is going to fold down like so. Then you're going to take this piece and turn it around 90 degrees, then fold it down. Then you fold the arms around. You want to get them in about this position. The interior elbows will plug into these large ports and makes a very solid connection. You just want to make sure you maneuver around the shoulder hinges and line it up correctly, which will look about like this. Once it's lined up, you'll be able to snap it into place. We can bring the jetpack down on top of its head, and we can fold the sides down. These little connection ports will plug into these little interior pieces just like so. Alright, we're already starting to see the side of a cube here. Now in true Tsubishima Yuki fashion, the torso has to rotate around as part of the transformation. We'll collapse in the hind legs and fold the paws sideways. These hip joints need to fold out, then forward, and they'll fit within the center torso space. And of course, with everything Beastbox, you just need to look for where the tabs are going to connect. These huge posts are going to plug right in here. I see that I didn't actually have the hind leg quite correct, so we need to make a little adjustment here. So we're going to fold that down in about that shape, then it'll fold in nicely. With the correct configuration, we can push it in and then we're good to go. Then we go ahead and fold these pieces in. There's this little tab piece that's going to fold inside this little slot. We'll fold it up and around, fit it within that space, and it fits perfectly. Now we have Baihu playing a little bit of peekaboo. From here, the tail is a pretty simple transformation. For my critiques about the lack of naturalistic joints, this is a solid piece. We're going to fold it up like that, then swing it sideways, then fold it down. And it forms this rectangular assembly. Then this whole piece needs to separate. That'll come up just like so. Note the connection tab and this tab here. We'll just line it up, push it in, and then you're good to go. And then these pieces are going to separate like so, and again, you're just going to connect that tab to the port on both sides. And there you go, that's Baihu's transformation into box mode, and of course he fits right into his box charger. Now it's time to give this infinitely better big cat a box grade. This is my rating system of 6 categories with 5 points possible for a total score of anything between 0 to 30 points. Baihu is an amazing showpiece, and though I don't know much about the mythological tiger of the West, this is a standout representation for a score of 5 out of 5. Beautiful sculpting, paint applications, complete with transparent eyes and flame details, net Baihu 4 out of 5. This cat's an improvement over its predecessor Chiron. It's easier and a little more intuitive to transform, and like Chiron, its flat panels are cleverly hidden in beast mode for a score of 5 out of 5. Articulation is excellent, Baihu is well balanced and highly posable, although it slightly comes short on a true feline posture with a lack of swivel joint in the tail and paws with more limited than usual range of motion. 4 out of 5. Build quality is absolutely top notch. Joints are nice and firm, high quality plastic and paint round out this figure as a premium showpiece. 5 out of 5. It's gorgeous to look at, fun to pose, not the least bit frustrating, and all in all, a well-rounded, really well-done figure that I've genuinely enjoyed picking up and playing around with. 4 out of 5. That brings the box grade total to 27 out of 30. On a final note, we can circle back around to the fundamental question of this review. Is Baihu a worthy successor to both the original Big Cat mold and Tsubishima Yuki's prior design Chiron? Hell yes, on both counts. Like I said before, this figure is an order of magnitude better than the original Big Cat, with far more sophisticated sculpting, articulation, and engineering. As far as Chiron, it feels quite a bit more solid with more intuitive transformation, albeit with a bit of a trade-off and slightly more limited articulation, which I'm sure is partly due to Baihu's more bulky frame. As far as the Box Charger 2.0, well, 52 Toys clearly didn't think that through before they decided to release it. As far as I'm concerned, it has limited usefulness, it's uglier than the original Box Charger, and it adds basically no value to how I would want to use this thing. And frankly, I'm a little bit concerned they're intending this to be a permanent replacement for the original Box Charger. I honestly hope not. Are there any other mythological creatures you'd like to see 52 Toys release? What do you think about Baihu? Let me know with a comment. As always, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.